Tonight's program is called the MS Advocacy Hub. It's a virtual program series that we began, again, pretty much in the middle of the pandemic. My name is Stuart Schlossman. I'm president and founder of MS Views and News. I'm also an MS patient, and that's what got me very involved with all the stuff that we do. That's another story. So tonight, we have sponsors for tonight's program, Sanofi Genzyme, Bristol-Meyers Squibb, and Biogen. And virtually, we have to give them a round of applause. So I want everybody from their seats at home to say, yay, thank you. Okay, perfect. I'm glad you all did that. I heard you from here, okay? So tonight, we have our guest, and our guest is Holly Schmidt. Holly is the Vice President of Scientific Operations at the Accelerated Cure Project for Multiple Sclerosis. And Holly, well, thank you for being here on this Friday night when you could be out having dinner somewhere.
I could be, but I'd rather be here with you, Stuart. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, Holly, how long have you been working in the MS field, and how did you even get started?
So I've been working in the MS field since 2001. Before that, in my career, I was working in high tech, and before that, I was working in the environmental field. But the founder of Accelerated Cure Project, who I know you've met and you know from before, he was, and still is, a great friend of mine, and he was diagnosed with MS in 2000. And he decided he was going to start a nonprofit to help drive research forward. And, you know, at that time I said, well, that sounds really awesome. How can I help? And 20 years later, I'm plugging away at MS and trying to make a difference.
Yeah. Are you allowed to say his name?
His name is Art, and he's no longer with the organization, but I still stay in touch with him. And like I said, he's still a great friend. Sure.
And I remember when I was first diagnosed, he was there giving me information at the very beginning. So, and that truly was a long time ago. All right. So what does the Accelerated Cure Project do to support the multiple sclerosis community?
So we are a nonprofit or advocacy organization, and we are established to serve people with MS and those who are near and dear to them. And we do this by promoting research that serves the needs of people with MS first and foremost. And we've got a couple of main principles that we are guided by. One is that we do some of our own research, but primarily we create research resources that researchers can use. And those resources are readily available, and they're also cost effective. So one of the things we have is a biobank of blood samples from people with MS. And there are thousands of people that have donated to that. And having these samples banked saves researchers, you know, from having to spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars or maybe more to collect their own blood samples from people. So we've got that already, and we can hand them out. And we supported hundreds of studies with this resource. So that's one of our principles. And the other one is that we include people with MS in everything we do. All the research decisions, all of the research priorities are all made with the input and the support of people with MS. We really want to make sure that people with MS have a voice and a role throughout the research process, not only as somebody who can participate, you know, as a study subject, for example. We know that people with MS have a lot to offer. I mean, Stuart, I think you're a great example. You know, you've done your homework from the very beginning. You've researched what was going on. You actually also took another step and decided to share that with other people with MS. But, you know, you're truly on top of what's happening. And, you know, a lot of people with MS are exactly the same way. They know what's happening. They have an opinion about what topics should be researched, or you know, are able to help with disseminating the results of research. So we really want to make sure to leverage that amazing resource that people with MS represent when it comes to conducting research and disseminating those results. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for noticing that I paid attention to things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been following your email newsletter when that was the primary thing for a long time, and I've always been impressed by what you've been able to locate and then, you know, put back out there for the rest of your community.
Oh, great. Thank you for that. So you were talking briefly about the blood bank. Can you tell us That's the ACP repository, correct?
Yeah.
So can you tell us how people can get involved with that? What they have to do to, where they could give a sample of their blood, and realistically, what is it that the repository is actually looking for?
So the repository is actually not currently enrolling people. We got to a point of about 3,200 people, most of whom have MS, and we thought, well, that's a pretty good number. It covers, a lot of bases in terms of what scientists are looking for. And so around that time, we were becoming aware of need for other types of resources. And so the one that we started up as we were closing down enrollment into the repository, although the samples are still available, so the sort of sending the samples out is still very much going on. But the need that we found and also located an opportunity to establish a resource for was in more data from people with MS and more engagement of people with MS in research. And we applied for funding from a nonprofit organization called the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, which is PCORI or PCORI. They actually fund like billions of dollars worth of research to establish an MS people-powered research network. And we call that iConquerMS. iConquerMS, and it is a virtual research network where people with MS or people who have a loved one or a friend or family member with MS can sign up virtually from anywhere in the world and give us some information and tell us that you're interested in joining different research activities. So we launched that in 2014 with a website which has the ability to enable registration from people, and you just need to really basically provide your name and your email address and a few other things. It has the ability to host research surveys. So we've got our ongoing study, which is called Real MS, which reaches out to people every 6 months and asks for updated information about your MS and any demographics like, employment or health insurance or, height, weight, things like that. We also are asking about wellness and diet and quality of life and things like that. So we can host those kinds of surveys. And we also work with scientists who want access to a large and growing cohort of people with MS to conduct research with. So we've worked with scientists on projects relating to telemedicine, for example. And I know a lot of people have become more familiar with telemedicine over the course of the pandemic. So we've done actually a survey of people about their use of telemedicine. One survey actually went out before the pandemic. It happened in around January timeframe of 2020. And then COVID-19 happened and we realized, a lot of people, I think those answers might have changed, since then. So we actually did a follow-up survey, toward the middle of last year to see, if telemedicine usage has changed. So anyway, we work with researchers to conduct studies on things that they're interested in, but we also bring the patient voice too.
Great, thank you. That was a long answer.
Sorry.
All right, so did you cover now, because there was a lot there and I was looking at my questions and making sure you're not answering anything that I still have questions for, but did you cover the developments and breakthroughs that ACP has done over the years?
Yeah, well, we're still working on a lot of breakthroughs. Obviously, we've got a lot of things in progress. One of the things that we're helping with right now is a study on COVID-19 vaccines in MS. This actually comes from a program on iConquerMS.org called Our Questions Have Power. We launched it not that long ago, and it asks people with MS to tell us what research questions they would like to have addressed. What are their burning topics? What do they wish scientists were working on? And we started that with an emphasis on COVID-19. So we got a lot of questions about the vaccines. People were really curious, and they are still very curious about the vaccines, and those questions are going to change over time. But we launched a study called COVER-MS, which anybody who's been vaccinated or plans to be vaccinated for COVID-19 can come on and complete some surveys. Let us know how that experience was. And then over time, if people come down with COVID-19, even though they've been vaccinated, and we think, we've seen this happen in the wider world, that it can happen. We'd like to know about that as well, so we can see if there's any factors that, correlate with who is protected and who unfortunately does get infected. So that's one of the things that we're, trying to help with and give results back to our community as frequently as possible, so that we're not waiting until we can publish in a scientific journal, but to make sure people get some of the things that we're learning along the way that can help them decide how to navigate this field. We're also with a repository.
I have a quick question. Holly, before you go onward, I just want to ask you, since you're talking about all these different things, how does the patient get involved with being involved with who can they write to, or where on your website can they visit to get involved with the COVID study that you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. They can go to iConquerMS.org, and our homepage has a lot of information about the kinds of things we do, and it has big Join Now buttons. So they can click that if they want to register with iConquerMS, and from there they can get involved in the COVID-19 vaccine study, or providing a research question, or real MS, or any of the other things that we have to offer. And in addition, if they just have questions, they can email info@iConquerMS.org. And, I'll see the email, and my colleagues will see the email as well, and, we'll get back to them.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. All right, sorry to cut you off, but I want to try to ask you questions, and you give the answers, and then we go on to the next question. And instead of me trying to figure out if you're answering anything, I still have to ask you.
Yeah, that's right. Take your time.
All right, great. All right, so how can people with MS help to enable future breakthroughs?
Yeah, they they can look for research studies to join. iConquerMS.org, of course, is the one that I hope a lot of people will join, because the more people who join, the more data we'll get. The more we can learn about MS and how it affects people in our community. But there are lots of other research studies as well. There are clinical trials. There are studies on quality of life. There are other kinds of registries. There's a new African American registry that's starting up. There's a registry called NARCOMS. There are studies that are clinical trials, but they're not drug trials. There are studies on things like meditation or mental health services and things like that. So there are different ways you can learn about clinical trials, and I think there's really a study or an opportunity for everyone. It just really depends on your interest. I also think people can contribute to future breakthroughs by just being a research champion. There are ways to advocate for increased research funding. The government devotes a lot of funding toward MS research through the NIH or through the Department of Defense. And you can get involved in contacting your government officials, your elected representatives, and letting them know that you have MS or you care about MS and you'd like to see those budgets increased. And you can contact the National MS Society for help in knowing who to contact and what are the priorities to advocate for. So that's another thing I recommend. And yeah, those are some of the ways. But if you need other ideas, I'm happy for people to contact me too.
Great, thank you. All right, so what kinds of research opportunities though are there for people with MS? Can you spell them out really slowly so everybody that's listening? We do have quite a few people on here tonight, so it would be nice if they could hear it all, okay?
Yeah, okay. All right, so well, I covered iConquerMS already, but I'll just mention that we do have some studies coming up. One is on complementary and alternative medicine and how people are using those. So if that's something that's of interest, you can sign up for iConquerMS, and then we'll let you know that study is coming around in the near future. There are the other registries that I mentioned, and those are things that you can participate in from your home. So those are really easy. All you really need, I think, is an internet connection, and that's all you need for iConquerMS as well. You can go to mymsaa.org, and this is the Multiple Sclerosis Association of America, and they have a clinical trials finder. And that's a really neat tool where you can put in your own information. It asks, you know, some basic things, maybe your geographic location or your age or what type of MS you have. And then based on that, it will search a database it has of clinical opportunities, clinical study opportunities, and give you a sorted list, a filtered list. So you're not seeing things that, you know, you wouldn't be interested in or wouldn't be applicable to you. So that's one nice way of finding a research opportunity. There are also, you know, beyond clinical trials, there are studies looking for, you know, people to donate blood samples. I know there's a couple of studies for genetics, and both of these are specific to racial and ethnic groups. So there's one that is for Hispanics, and there's another for African Americans. And so, again, that's a pretty simple way. If you don't mind donating a tube of blood, or sometimes all they need is really a saliva sample, it's a really simple way of contributing to a really meaningful aspect of research. And then there's also like people developing new imaging techniques too. And all you need to do for that, if you don't mind, doing another MRI or you know, doing maybe a study that's looking at ways of imaging, you know, the optic nerve by looking at your eye. There are opportunities. You know, people should ask their doctors as well. Your doctor or your nurse or whoever you're getting care from may know of opportunities either at their clinic or somewhere else nearby, or something else that's virtual that you can access by the internet. I think, you know, people would like to hear more from their healthcare providers about research opportunities, but it doesn't always come up in a clinical setting. So if it's something you're interested in, you know, try asking and see what ideas they might have.
Okay, thank you. By the way, what the MSAA has on their site, we have as well. It's actually through Antidote that people go on there and they find out what clinical trial might be good for them. And they go in there and yes, they type in their name and fill out some very few questions. And then it pops up with what you might be able to submit something for. And then, of course, there's a process. It'll come back right away and say, no, that you don't qualify, or that's 99% of the time. But sometimes there's something there for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, for everybody that's on here, it's not just the MSAA, but MS Views and News also has that.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me know. Yeah.
I'm glad you do. All right. Now, also what to do with the genetics and blood samples and the African American and Hispanic and different things like that. University of Miami has their blood bank that they're also looking for diversity in as far as the samples that they get.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So that's just something else to throw out there. All right. Are there opportunities for people with MS to influence what types of research is being conducted?
Definitely. I can think of a few ways. One is, you know, I mentioned the U.S. Department of Defense. They're a funder of research. The NIH is as well. I know the Department of Defense right now is doing, they're asking researchers for proposals. They've got a fund of several $1 million that they're going to spend on MS research. And once those proposals come in, they're going to set up review panels. And those review panels include people with MS. And I actually recently spoke to a few people who have done that before, and they say the voice of the people with MS serving on those panels does carry a lot of weight. So if you know, that's something that people are interested in, I might be able to help them figure out who they can approach to inquire about how does one get on that type of panel. The NIH also funds quite a bit of MS research, and you know, if you go on the NIH's website, look for the NINDS, which is the Institute for Neurological Disorders and Stroke, and they fund a lot of research. There's probably, I'm sure there's a contact us button there, or something even more specific to providing input into research priorities. So you can just write them and say, you know, I have MS, I'm living with MS, or I have a loved one with MS, and this is what I wish there was more research about. And, you know, also ask if there are ways that people with MS can get involved. And then finally, the MS Society funds a lot of research as well. So you could contact them and let them know this is what we'd like to study, or is what I'd like you to fund research on. And PCORI, that was the other one I mentioned, the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute. They fund research in MS like they funded iConquerMS. And they actually have a lot of different opportunities for lay people to get involved in their operations, whether that's reviewing funding proposals or serving as ambassadors of different kinds, or helping with writing up research results so that they can be understood by the regular person. So if you go on pcori.org, pcori.org, they're usually looking for people to help out in different ways.
Okay, thank you. Question: why is it that research is underrepresented with people of color?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's something that we have been challenged with in our own activities, including our biobank and iConquerMS. When we look at who's participating, it's the vast majority are white people who are non-Hispanic, and we know that the actual MS community is a lot more diverse than we see in our own participants or our own cohorts. So we decided a few years ago that we needed to know more about this and to do something about it. So we formed an organization called the MS Minority Research Engagement Partnership Network, which is a multi-stakeholder collaboration. It's got people from advocacy organizations and from biopharma companies and people with MS and healthcare providers and scientists, and everybody there on that committee agrees that this is an issue and has some particular connection to the issue. And we've done some research, and we did a survey with people with MS to find out what are different attitudes and perspectives about research participation, and does that vary among racial and ethnic group. We've also done some literature research, to see what's been published in other disease areas, because it's not just MS. This is a problem that affects diseases almost across the board.
Sure.
And what we learned is that, a lot of people will point to mistrust among people of color for healthcare, the healthcare system, or researchers, or the research, system. And that is, there is some truth to that, but, in our survey, we found out that there is really enthusiasm for research and support for research across all categories, all racial and ethnic categories. So, it may exist, and there's good reason for that. There have been abuses in the past, but it's not the only thing, and it's maybe not even the major thing. What I think is really more of a driving force these days is that, it has to do with who's invited to participate in research, who's doing the inviting, is it somebody that people trust, and also how is the message communicated. So I think that's really the areas to focus on to improve the situation, is making sure that the invitations to engage in research are using the right channels, are reaching a broader set of people, and that the way the message is presented is something that people of color, people from underrepresented groups can relate to, and they can feel like, okay, this is something for me, and it's something that's going to benefit my community.
Okay. So before I ask you the next question, I just want to let anybody know that came on after I first made announcements. If you have questions, please use the arrow at the top of the scroll bar, type in your question, and I'm not going to interrupt Holly in the middle. I will get to your questions after I ask all of my questions, okay? Because there are some people asking questions right now. All right. So also, you made mention that you have a committee that's working on different things to find out how to get more people involved from areas around the country. And if you don't mind, if you can send me something on this, I would like to try to help you all out. Considering we have our reach in rural America, and we're doing a tremendous amount of programs. As we get back into doing all these in-person live programs again, we're primarily going to be focusing on the inner boundaries of the United States, and that is rural America. All right, so we can help try to get the information to those areas around the United States. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Great. So next question: what's being done to make MS research more diverse and representative?
Yeah, I think people are trying a lot of things. We, with iConquerMS, are trying some different things. We, would like to work more closely with healthcare providers because, as I said, the people I think would like to have conversations about research with their healthcare providers, but that doesn't always come up. So we're trying to help foster those conversations a little bit more, especially in communities of color, where sort of that trust is already established a lot of times. We're going to be developing a website for people of color specifically about research that provides information about the fact that people from racial and ethnic minority backgrounds are underrepresented in research. Why that's a problem. The reason that's a problem is that I'll give an example. I don't know if you are aware, but the FDA has something called the drugs trial snapshots. And whenever a drug is approved, they will publish on their website, totally public, a set of infographics about who participated in the trials for that drug. And they break it down by demographics. And so you can go see for any given drug that's been approved, what was the age breakdown, what was the sex or gender breakdown, what was the racial and ethnic breakdown. And I actually looked at that for 4 of the recently approved MS drugs. And if you put all that together, all those figures together, I think it was like it was around 6% or less of the people in those trials were not white. They were less than 6% were a race other than white. So what that means is that, if you're wondering, well, does this drug work in people of color? Say, does it work in African Americans or Hispanics? Does it work better, or does it work worse? We don't know because we don't have the data. The evidence is not there. So, and that's true with any kind of study that's done. So that's why it's a problem, and that's why we're trying to, try to help correct that imbalance. But anyway, like I said, we're going to develop a website that helps explain this issue, helps explain what research is about, the different kinds of research, how can people get involved, how people's rights are protected now. I talked about mistrust and abuses. There's a lot more oversight than there was several decades ago. So I think people can feel more secure that there's ways they can that they won't be taken advantage of. And then finally,
what about the Asian American community?
Same thing. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, it's and Native Americans and all the different South Asian, all different communities that aren't white or are not represented well in research.
I think the biggest problem with the Native American community is that there's no way to get the information into the tribal lands around the United States because they don't allow outsiders into their properties. So they're really, unless they have people following what's going on and want to find the research from within and bring it to the community, the information is not getting in there. I'm not saying that off the cuff. We've actually studied some of this already. We're trying to find ways to get information into the tribal councils around the United States. So.
I would love to talk with you more about that because
I would love to do that.
That would be a group we'd like to reach as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
So another thing is you're talking about finding ways to contact people of color. Have you or has ACP tried contacting some of the smaller MS organizations that are out there that are primarily of people of color or that are primarily only, shouldn't say primarily only, but are only in rural America?
As we know about them, yes, we definitely try to reach out. For the Our Questions Have Power program, the one that's asking people to submit their research questions, and then we'll take the high priority ones and develop them into research studies. Because that was focused on COVID-19, we especially wanted to try to reach into communities of color who are not only more severely affected by MS, because MS can, have a more severe impact on African Americans, for example, but we're also more severely affected by COVID-19, as we saw with infection rates and death rates and things like that. So, we had a task force that was set up to, to try and devise some strategies for finding people with MS in those communities who might like to pose a research question, and a lot of that was looking for new channels. So groups and influencers and other people who can help us send out that message that we were open for questions and we'd like to hear from all parts of the MS community. But yeah, as you know, of groups that reach underserved communities and would be interested in sending out messages about research opportunities, we would love to know that.
Well, that's another question that's coming up shortly, all right? First off, are there any common misunderstandings about participating in research with the general community?
Yeah, I think one thing that's not well known, I mentioned this before, is how well study participants' rights are protected, especially compared to, how things used to be. So one of the things I do is I serve on an ethics board for a local Boston hospital, and those are called institutional review boards, or IRBs. If anybody's ever participated in research, you might have heard that term, but these boards are charged with overseeing and protecting the rights of participants in any research that involves human beings. So, so in our IRB meetings, we look at all the studies and we look at the risks involved, and we also look at the benefits. And if those two things aren't balanced, then we can refuse the study, or we can send it back to the researcher and say you need to make some changes. So that's one thing. I think the IRBs should, have a PR campaign to let people know of the work that is being done, and the fact that there are sort of guardrails and guidelines out there. I think people may not understand that if they join a study, you can get out at any time. You're not committed to remaining in that study if it turns out it's no longer right for you. Or it's not feasible for you to be in it anymore. You're not committing to anything on a permanent basis. So I think that's something that might help people be a little bit more open to considering that. You can also get input from your healthcare provider or your family members or your friends if you're not sure whether you want to participate. So, nobody's going to make you sign anything without the time to evaluate it and to get some input. And then I think, one other thing is that, I've heard from some people, they go, well, I tried to get into this one study, but I didn't qualify, because of my age or because of another health condition I have or something like that. So I don't think I can get into a study. And that's not really true, because as I mentioned before, there's all kinds of different research projects looking for lots of different types of people, or really, with some projects like iConquerMS, anybody. We open the door to anybody. So just because you didn't qualify or weren't able to get into one study that you wanted to, don't give up. Look for other things. Research needs you. There's a lot of studies that never succeed because they can't enroll the people they need to, and that's a real shame. That's wasted opportunities. So anybody who's out there listening who just has any inclination at all, look around, and again, contact me if you're struggling trying to find something, and I'll help point you in the right direction.
Thank you. So what about people over 65? I mean, we hear all the time that people over 65 are excluded. Why is that?
Why is that? That happens a lot, especially with clinical trials, like drug studies, for example. Part of that is due to safety reasons. I think the people running the trials think, well, the older you get, the more likely you are to have other conditions. You might be more likely to have heart disease or high blood pressure or something like that. And because we're trying this drug that hasn't been used in very many people yet, we really want to minimize the risks of somebody being harmed by the drug. So I think that's one reason. But I don't know, there's a lot of healthy people, otherwise healthy people who are over 65 who I think might do just fine in a clinical trial. I think it's just sort of an easy way of kind of, limiting the diversity, or not the diversity, but the the different characteristics of people. Kind of, it might make it easier to get a signal about whether a drug works or not if you have a more homogeneous population. But it does reduce research opportunities for people over that age, and it is exclusionary in a way. So it's something that we'd like more attention paid to. Is it always necessary to do that, and when might it not be necessary?
Okay, there are a lot of different people on here right now than were on here earlier. So I'm going to ask a question that you had answered earlier, or you spoke about earlier, and that is, how can people with MS find a research study to join if they're interested?
Right. So one great way would be to go onto the MS Views and News website and look for a clinical trial finder, which is run by Antidote, and that will let you put in your information about, your age and your MS type and where you live and things like that, and maybe narrow down some research opportunities to ones that would be a good fit for you. That's a good way. You can go to iConquerMS.org. That's iconquerms.org, and that's open to everybody. It's an open research network, and we will let you know about all kinds of different research opportunities that are available over time. Just click the Join Now button and you can sign up for an account. There are other registries. There's the NARCOMS registry. There's a new African American registry that are similar in that you can join and participate from your home, and they're very inclusive of everybody. So those are good things to try. And then finally, ask your doctor, ask your nurse, ask your, if you're getting other kinds of therapy, physical therapy, or if you're seeing a urologist or ophthalmologist or whatever, and especially if they're in a center that does research, if you're interested, ask them, what opportunities might there be for you.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So I'm going to take a few questions from online right now. One of which is it possible to still get into the research Holly first spoke about? So that was a while ago when you spoke about it, but if you can tell this person, this is coming from Tammy, so you could answer Tammy directly here.
Hi, Tammy. So let's see, I think I first spoke about our biobank, and that is not enrolling subjects because we sort of got to the critical number that we needed, and we created iConquerMS to proceed with, but you can join iConquerMS. That is open, and we actually are exploring biosample collection in iConquerMS. We can work with distributed labs, for example, or people who will go to your home and collect blood samples. We actually did do a saliva sample, or it might have been a cheek cells, but it was a DNA sample collection pilot study where we sent out little kits to, I think, around 25 people in iConquerMS, and they sent those back. And so that we got a really enthusiastic response about that. People sent back their kits, and now we have their DNA samples as well. And we think that model is very feasible. So, we're talking to different researchers about that opportunity, and we would love to find a way to collect samples from our distributed community across the nation and support studies in that way. So if you sign up for iConquerMS and you're interested in contributing samples, you'll be sure to know as soon as we've got a study that's looking for them.
Great, thank you. Teddy wants to know how this differs from NARCOMS.
It's similar to NARCOMS. NARCOMS is another registry where people can enroll and they can participate in research and a lot of surveys and things like that. I think how we differ is that we're very patient-centric. We are patient-governed. We're governed by people with MS. First and foremost, we have a governing board, we have a research committee, we have an engagement committee, we have steering committees of different kinds. And for the governing board and for the committees, we have a principle that more than half of the people on each of those bodies are people with MS. And if we have chairperson, that person needs to be somebody with MS, or if we have co-chairs, one of those co-chairs at least needs to be a person with MS. So that's how we make sure that everything we do, every decision we make, every study that we get ourselves involved in is done with the approval of people with MS and is done with the interests of people with MS firmly in mind. We also do a lot of engagement of our community when it comes to deciding what to do. So I mentioned the Our Questions Have Power program. So we're taking in questions that people think are high priority. We're letting the community vote on those, and then we'll see which ones rise to the top, and then we'll work with researchers and funders to come up with studies that will answer those questions. We also have a practice whenever we are developing a new study, and we just did one of these this week. We've got a researcher coming to us. He's got a study idea, and we think it's a good idea. And the research committee thinks, yeah, we think that's a pretty good idea too, but we want to find out what the community thinks. So we write up a description of the study, we post it online, and then we have a short survey that follows it. And so we ask our community, read this over, and then let us know, is this something that is worthwhile for the MS community? Is it a study that you yourself would participate in if it were available to you? And then finally, do you have any feedback for the researchers on, how they could improve their study? And if the researcher has additional questions, then they can add those to the survey as well. They might want to know, like, what is people's experience with this topic, for example. And so we did one of these this week, and we're getting responses in. Middle of next week, we'll close the survey, and we will give those responses to the researchers so they can learn, and they might make changes to the study, but also share with the research committee, who will ultimately decide whether or not to approve the study. And if our community says, no, it's not really that great a topic, or no, we see a lot of problems with this, we don't think it's in our interest, then we wouldn't approve it. So far that hasn't happened, but if it were to happen, or if people in the comments, pointed out some, major issue that we hadn't thought of, then we'll address that issue. But, we think it's really important. Like I said, people with MS are often just so, well informed, and they have, great insights. But we want to take advantage of that, and we want to make sure that whatever we're doing, whatever we're supporting, is going to meet the needs of the community.
Okay, so I have one more question to ask you from online, but before I get to that, I have to let everybody know that tomorrow we have another program coming up. It is an 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time program. It is called MS Views Now. We have been doing this since the beginning of COVID, and tomorrow we have our guest, Dr. Mary Hughes, who will be speaking about COVID currently, COVID currently with multiple sclerosis, the vaccines, the medications, whatever questions that people might have on this, as well as she's going to be speaking about movement and how the importance of movement for multiple sclerosis. So this is a topic that probably affects everybody with MS, especially in this day. And so if you're not already registered for this program, go to the MS Views and News website, msvn.org, and just find it in the center column. Center column is filled with several programs that we have coming up. Also on this Monday, we have a yoga class that's beginning. It's our first time doing it. Megan Weigel is doing that. On Wednesday, we have a mental wellness series that's beginning, on coping skills, on many other things that are going on. And the speaker of this series is Jessica Thomas. She's a licensed clinical social worker, and she'll be doing this with us for the next few months. So you have that there as well. And then we have, again, we're going to be getting into July, and July is just filled with 11 different things that we'll be doing during the month of July. So we're hoping that you all, get registered for these programs as well. Pick and choose what you want. If you want to do individual, that's great. If you want to do them all, that's fantastic. And I just hope to see some of the same names appearing everywhere. All right. Now,
hey, Stuart, can I just ask, or can I just put in a plug since you mentioned movement?
Sure.
We are also supporting another study called Step for MS, and this is an exercise study. and it is currently recruiting. So if people are interested in improving their physical function, and they're not currently doing a lot of exercise, but would like to, increase the amount of exercise they're doing, but may not really know the best way of doing that, this study is comparing exercise coaching methods. So half of the people are getting exercise coaching in person at a facility, and the other half are getting exercise coaching remotely, like over Zoom or something like that.
Is that the study with the Shepherd Center?
Yes, the Shepherd Center and University of Alabama, Birmingham, and they are still recruiting people. There's, I think, 7 centers that are currently enrolling across the United States. And so if you look for STEP, STEP for MS, you'll find the website, or again, you can just contact me and I'll send you the link.
So everybody in our database will know about that, because the Shepherd Center sent me information the other day and they would like me to put this out next week. So everybody that's on this call tonight will be seeing that information as well, okay?
Excellent. Yeah, it's a great study, and I think it's, everybody could probably exercise a little bit more, and if you're not sure how to do it, then you'll get personal coaching. What could be better?
Great. All right. So before, again, I get to the last question, who was sent by Tamara, so we're going to have Holly's going to speak about something that she actually did for fun recently. All right. And I'm going to have to phrase it not in a question. And then she could tell you about that. All right. But it's going to be about the name of a show. And I'm just going to have to say to her, you were on a game show? And then she's going to give us the answer. All right. But let's get to Tamara's question first. And so Tamara's asking, I've suggested a research idea for the VA to do, and all I get in response is the sound of crickets. Who do I need to contact to get that started, or at least told that it's not going to be happening?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually do have a contact at the VA. So if you will contact me and send me your idea, I can certainly pass it along to my contact there. I don't really know the VA system that well. I don't know the communication structure or anything like that, but I can promise to at least raise it with the one person that I do work with there. So Stuart, can you send out my email address or put it in the a link or something like that?
Send it to me, and I'll send me her question, whatever, and I'll just send her your email as well. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, would like to help.
Okay, that's great. All right. So let me get back to this then. All right. So I'm just gonna phrase it as a phrase. You were on a game show.
I was. Yes. The name of the game show was.
Ring the bell first.
Yeah. Ding. What is Jeopardy?
Very good. Bingo.
Yeah. I was. That was back in 2018, and it was like a highlight. It was so much fun. I came in third, so I did not get to come back for a second or a third day or whatever. I was not in the Tournament of Champions, but it was really like one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. And this was back when obviously Alex Trebek was still with us, and he was wonderful and charming, and I just had a great time. Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't have to go against Ken Jennings, right?
Gosh, that would have been pretty formidable, or James Holzhauer, or any of these others, smarty pants who put up these amazing streaks. Now I went up against a couple of regular, mortals, but they were, still pretty darn good, and it was fun. What you might have heard is that the buzzer timing is like half of the game. Because most of the questions, I would say most of us up there knew the answers to. It's just who gets the buzzer in at the exact right time that you get to be the one to answer that question. So
Right.
Yeah.
Just got to be pushing it the whole time, right?
No, you get locked out. So if you buzz in a little too quickly, it locks you out for not that long, but long enough for the next person to get in. So
Did they give you materials to study in advance, or do you just come in there knowing everything?
You don't get anything in advance. It helps to watch, so you know what kind of questions you're going to get. I actually studied, and I didn't have much time because they called me in March, and then my taping date was April, so I didn't have loads and loads of time, and I was doing a lot of traveling as well. So I did try to read up on the presidents, the US presidents, because it always seems like there's questions about presidents. And on the way to my taping, I flew to LA. I was flying American, and so, you know, they have the magazine in the seat back pocket. So I pored over the maps, you know, because they fly everywhere. So I'm looking like, what are the capitals of all the countries, and, you know, which is south of what, and, you know, what's on the equator and things like that. So I tried to bone up on that. The one thing that really helped me is when I was at the hotel the night before, I was like, you know, I should look up Oscar awards because that comes up often as well. And so I went over like the best actor and actress and the directors and best films and things like that. And Jennifer Lawrence was actually in the answer to one of the questions that I got. And I might not have had her in mind had I not looked at that, you know, the night before. So, but no, it's really general knowledge, you know, it's just, you know, the more you know, the better you do.
Great. So thank you for that. And I just want to let you know that I did put out a message to everybody on here of how they can contact iConquerMS. So everybody, you should have it in your chat. If you look at the chat box, I did type in the URL for iConquerMS, and you can copy that down real quick. I'm going to give you about another 5 seconds to do that, because then I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. And we do hope to see you online with us tomorrow. I do want to thank Holly for taking her Friday night that she could be out with her family for dinner and instead be here, okay, and be out for dinner in a restaurant with her mask off. And that's only because she is vaccinated, and I too, which is why I don't wear a mask around here anymore. Not that I have to. There's 2 people in 5,000 square feet of space here, okay? And, you know, that's it. So we just want to make sure that, oh, somebody asked a question. Look at that. Somebody just threw one in here. Step for MS would not open up. It said it was not a valid address. No, that's not what I was talking about. So which address did you say, Holly?
Oh, I just said to Google Step for MS. It's
Okay.
not step4ms.org or com or anything like that.
Right.
If you just type Step for MS, FOR, spell that out in Google, and you should be able to find it. If not, just you know, go to you
Shepherd.
can email info@iconquerms.org, and I'll see it, and I'll send you the link.
Right. Or you can wait till I send out the email next week, and you'll have
Right.
all the information there too, okay?
That's right. You can
Okay.
do that. Yeah.
Great. All right. So again, thank you, Holly, and thank you for all of our guest attendees that were on here tonight. I want to thank you all for coming, and we do hope to see you online again tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. It's not an evening program. It's a lunch program. And guess what? I've been having people asking me what's for lunch, and I tell them to open up the refrigerator or the pantry and pick whatever you'd like. Okay? It's virtual. Okay. Everybody have a great night, and I'm going to say good night now. Ta-ta.
Good night.
Good night.